One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Intersectionality. Let's deal with that. Put some flesh on the bones in terms of what it is that you want to put into the room.
Especially in queer spaces, it's something that gets ignored because there's a shared, common-ish marginal identity in being queer. And that's great, and it's great that we find community in that, but I think it ignores how that plays into race or class, or sometimes we touch on gender a little bit.
Poetry as a genre is, does hold amazing resource for brave conversation and sort of the unpeeling and the unpacking of and the unlearning of many, many things. I also think that I appreciate intersectionality as this coined term, this new coined term, but the practicing out of that in the world is as old as the sun, right? Like, we know that, but we need language, right? To put some flesh on the bones for us, and so that we knew how to advocate for ourselves or ask for help or say, hey, that shit you just did right there was fucked up and reductive, whatever. But we needed some language, and so I appreciate that, right? Because that word gives it to us.
Intersectionality is so important to us because I think queerness flows throughout our community. And I mean that in the broadest sense of the word. Queerness as in there's so much room to be. And I think that to me is what intersectionality is. And that's why I think it's so important. It allows for, and I think that if we don't recognize, and not just recognize, but begin to operate from a place of intersectionality, meaning that the target might look different. One day it's going to be a trans person, right? The next day it's going to be a woman who's feminine presenting, whatever that means, feminine presenting. Another day it's going to be a woman who is masculine presenting. Another day it's going to be a black man. But the violence is there. The target is different, but it's from the same hands.
It's by the same mechanism, not the same hands,
but that's what I mean.
It's the same mechanism,
same hands,
same machinery.
the same machinery, the same mechanism. Of anything that is outside of the norm is subject to being devalued, interrogated, investigated, and ultimately killed.
If you have this romantic notion of spoken word or slam and all that stuff, I'm inviting you to consider that when you are celebrating brave space, right? Because that's really what it is. It ain't safe space. It ain't never been promised to be safe space. I don't care what they've told you. Don't believe the hype. It's not safe space. But it's brave space. But in that culture, and the practicing of that, there are people who are going to be clumsy in it. There are people who are going to get in front of the microphone who do not have what you would call conscious, politically correct, or politically astute realities. So then, therefore, their language is not going to be that either. And they will get up there and say things that are racist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic. They're going to do that shit and put it on the mic. And all I'm saying is, if we want the space to be fully expressed, we want that for ourselves, and we also want it for the people with whose politics we agree with, right? Then we also have to leave room for the idiot, for the fascist. We do. Because I don't know how else they evolve or change or get introduced to another paradigm, if not by virtue of conscious people being in that room and being willing to, first of all, let them say their thing and then being like, okay, that shit you said, come here. You know what I mean? Because you can do that. You can absolutely sidebar somebody at the poetry venue. You should sidebar them at the poetry venue. You know what I mean? And in fact, you can make your disdain, that's the other beauty about slam, you make your disdain real apparent right away. As soon as they say some shit you don't like, boo, boo, right? And then they get off and you're like, we need to. The people who said that they are dealing with writer's block, that is an illusion. Okay? Put your hand up if you said it. I remember your faces. Put your damn hand up.
It's okay.
Shit, I don't want to.
No shame in it.
Nah, it's writer's block is a lie. Say that. Say it again. Okay. The reason I'm saying that is because you always have language. You always have language. When you're saying you have writer's block, you are dealing in that moment with an internal critic who is presenting you with roadblocks and stops along the way. This internal critic is the voice that you are authenticating and letting hiss in your ear to tell you, nah, that ain't good enough. Assign that thing an attribute and speak to it. Speak to the unwanted or the unwelcome silence, you know? And see where you get with that.
One thing that can help you as you personify your silence, as you give it human attributes, is to create a word bank. So at the top or toward the top of your pages, you can write different categories. So let's start with color. This can just be as an exercise for you all, maybe before you dive into your silence prompt, poem, or wherever that leads you, or after, or at some other time. But if you all can just write, it's not a long line, if you can all write this down. The line is, any memory that tells me I am ugly is a liar I know how to kill. Any memory that tells me I am damaged is a liar I know how to kill. Any memory that tells me I died in childhood is a liar I know how to kill, is a liar I know how to kill. So that kind of refrain, you can use that by the first line stating the truth of what has tried to kill you.
You have to.
Right? By naming what has tried to kill you. And then in kind of bringing your own power into the room and saying, that is a liar I know how to kill.
Whether it was the stuff of your lived experience, your whole life, your family of origin, whatever, right? People who go, I'm matter, I am powerful, are people who've had experiences and individuals who have absolutely challenged that, right? That's how that got born. I had to name the monster so that I could say, now I see you as the liar, and I know how to kill you.
So we just got done with our workshop at NYU. This is the second time we've been to NYU. This time we were invited for Pride Month, which we were really excited about. And Dom just had a performance at the Emerging Live Women's Festival. So we did a mad dash here and got here in time to do our workshop. And I think it was a really, a meaningful conversation that we had about intersectionality, about silences, about how those silences emerge and how we can kind of tackle them, or at least speak them into existence so we can step over them. I really enjoyed our time together with these students. I think they had fun. We did affirmations. That's always a good sign.
I felt like a lot came up in the room, and it's always a thing with these workshops where we never have enough time because the conversation grows so large so quickly. And so in that way, it always feels, it's hard for me because I always worry about what they're left with, when they get they're suddenly overwhelmed with this new thing or this new clarity or this new language, and then we go, well, our time is up. So we try to be deliberate about remaining relative to those students and making sure that they're still safe beyond our limited interaction.
I wanna know what are the words